Well. Guess what? It's real money coach time. It is real money coach time. Listen, Thursday came so fast this week. If you are watching from any part of the country, any city, any state, just put it in the chat box. Let us know what you're watching from. If you had a great Memorial Day, put that in the chat box as well. I had an awesome Memorial Day. Listen, I keep getting my days mixed up because it feels like it should be Wednesday, but it's actually Thursday. But the good news is tomorrow's Friday. And Friday, if you guys have been watching any time at all, you know one thing that happens on Friday. Me and my wife, that's date night. So we're one day closer to date night. Listen, there's so much going on. There's so much going on. Alice Martin, thank you for being here, loyal each week. There's so much going on, you guys, around the country. And I just think about all this, Tulsa. If you guys thank you, Dr. Bella, for being here. If you got Fresno, California, that's my people. I'm going to be with you in about an hour. Listen, it is so much going on. All the events of the Black Wall Street, and I don't know if anybody's been watching any of that, but it's just been kind of amazing watching the documentaries of it and all the things that happened. And that's one of the things, it was just really just kind of hit me in the gut a little bit. But the good news that I saw in it is that we had a lot of enterprises. I mean, we were really doing some great things in Tulsa and the Black Wall Street. And I know that there were other Black Wall Streets throughout the country. I know here in North Carolina, where I live, over in Raleigh, Durham, they had a Black Wall Street. Similar, they put a highway in there, kind of broken that up a little bit. But, we can do it, and that's the thing that I guess I got from it, is just being encouraged. And I was talking to some people that were actually in Tulsa over the weekend, talking about all the events that were there, all the different dignitaries and movie stars and all those that were there celebrating 100 years of this massacre. And I guess my question is, how far have we come? Have we really come that far? That's my question tonight. Ruth Bell in the house, thank you for being here, Ruth. Is how have we really come that far, or are we still lagging behind? And I think we're really going to get into some of this with our guest tonight as we talk about what we're seeing going on around us. I would say socially, I would say financially, and I would say politically, the things that are going around us. And if we open our eyes and see what is happening, there's a lot going on. And, I was just thinking about this as I was looking at the chat, and I see Ruth is with us tonight. And I just want to give a shout out to my friend, Bishop Claude Alexander. I don't know if you guys are on social media or not, but Bishop Claude Alexander has been awarded the Presidential Medal for Community Service by the Biden administration. I saw that on Facebook. So I want to give a shout out to him. And I know some of you that are listening are members of the Park Church here in Charlotte. And so I think that was just quite an honor. Listen, tonight I have my good friend back with us. I have my good friend back with us. We're going to bring her on, and maybe her and I will talk a little bit about this Black Wall Street thing before we bring our guests on and we really start to unpack some things. So let's bring on Miss Michelle Mitchell from Mitchell Consulting. Michelle?
I'm here.
There we go. Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Good. It's another Thursday.
Thursday.
Terrific Thursday. We call it Terrific Thursday. Chad, good evening, Chad. Terrific Thursday tonight. Listen, have you watched any of the Black Wall Street stuff?
Okay, so I tried to watch the one on CNN. Sunday night, I believe.
Okay. Okay.
I fell asleep, so I got to get it on, you know, on demand. So
Well, listen, I watched it on, I believe their special came on Sunday. And
Mhm.
then Lisa and I started watching it last night. We got to finish it up
Mm,
after I get done in California at 10
right.
o'clock tonight, if she's still up. So, but yeah, it was very interesting. And I watched a couple of them. I watched CNN and I watched the History Channel.
Mhm.
And I kind of like the History Channel one a little better, bringing in some of more of the background.
Mhm.
Um, but Black Wall Street was pretty powerful. I
It
mean,
was. It
yeah,
was.
and
It was how many block like 30 blocks,
40,
40 blocks,
40
40
blocks
blocks of black owned businesses
in homes
and homes.
in
Yeah,
1921, by the
in
way.
1921. Yeah.
1921,
Yeah.
by the way. So, wow, I just thinking about that. They had everything they need. And,
Yeah.
sometimes I think what has happened to us is, and maybe not just us, but I know us, right?
Mhm.
Um, is that as African Americans and as other minorities have become, well, at one time we had to do business with each other because
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
couldn't go to
Mhm.
the hotel, you couldn't go to this restaurant, you couldn't do these
Mhm.
other things. And so you had to circulate those dollars
Mhm.
within your own community because we didn't
Yeah.
have a choice.
Right. You didn't have a choice.
And what they were able to do in Tulsa was really take that to another level.
Yeah.
And so that to me was very interesting.
Yeah.
And one time I don't know how I find out about it, but I got this book. It's called The Green Book. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah, you showed it to me.
yeah, The Green Book. So
Yeah.
The Green Book, and it's about how when you traveled, it was the Negro Guide to Travel. So
Mhm.
when you traveled to these other cities, um, you would have places that you could go as
Right.
a Black person or a minority where you could actually stay, eat, and all
Mhm.
those type of
And be
things
safe. Yeah.
and be safe, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I never got to it, but even we have some of the family descendants of some of the places here in Charlotte, and Alice Martin kind of hooked me up with one, and we never connected. But I would love to just revisit that. And the whole
Yeah.
Black Wall Street thing, I think that could be just like a theme. We could do a
Right.
whole theme. We could do a
Yeah.
whole weekend seminar on Black
On
Wall
Black
Street,
Wall
right?
Street.
And
Yeah.
talk about all the different businesses and why they worked and all that type of thing. But
Right.
it's a
Yeah.
shame that it got cut down. It's got
Right.
burned
Mhm.
down and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me as I, babbling on here is I can't remember right now, but in Philadelphia, there was a similar type thing happening in Philadelphia where they actually dropped bombs on these houses and that
Wow.
neighborhood destroyed the whole thing. And I'm just drawing a blank on it right now. Somebody
Mhm.
might remember that. Put that in the chat if you remember it, what that group was. But it was a group of African American people, and they all like owned these. It was like a whole row neighborhoods of houses,
Mhm.
and they actually ordered bombing and they dropped
Wow.
dynamite on their houses, and this was in the 70s, right? So this wasn't like
In the
in
70s.
the 70s. Yeah, and this was in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And so we got a long way to go. We got a
Yeah.
long way to
We
go.
have a long way to go.
And what I'm interested in is just meeting our special guest. And I'm gonna tell you folks, if you're watching, she's truly special. I
She
mean,
really.
she's truly special. And I'm really looking forward to hearing her unpack some of the things that we were talking about behind stage. And if you got some questions about what's going on politically, if you got some questions about the George Floyd bill, some of these type of things that we have been trying to get done, police reform, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's going to be a very educational show for you tonight.
Mhm.
So what I'm hoping for those people who are listening, like Miss Renee and Vivian Powell from Tampa Bay, what I'm really hoping for is that you will come out of today's show inspired not that our listeners, but we need to just take action, right? And
Yeah.
that, I think, and if you haven't watched the Tulsa thing, the one thing that happened down there that was very telling is when they were going to lynch the kid, and the men stepped up and said, no, that's not going to happen. And they marched down to City Hall, and that's when everything, I won't give it away, but that's when things kind of exploded shortly after that. So got to know our history. Got to know our history.
We do. We got to know our history, and we got to teach it to our children, because if we don't, it will happen again. You know?
Yeah.
They need to know, because we'll talk about like what's going on, but things that are going on right now that's affecting us in our community. We have to show our voices at the poll, no matter what obstacles they are putting in our way. Period.
Interesting, because we're talking about you're talking about the polls, and we're hearing all these anti-voting legislations that are going wrong. So our guest, she put it in there. She said it was the move. That's who was going on in Philadelphia. It was called the move. Okay. Thank you. Listen, since she's saving her brother already, man, let's just get ready to bring Coach Kathy on the screen. You want to introduce Coach Kathy to our people?
Sure. Everybody at the Real Money Coach, I would love to introduce to you my friend, my cohort, like my inspiration, Coach Kathy Wilson. Kathy Wilson, I met her a few years ago, and she's a baller, y'all. She's a baller. She teaches and she trains. She is the kick-ass coach, put it that way. And Coach Kathy was not only bad on the basketball court, but she's bad in business. So I would really like for Coach Kathy Wilson to join us on the stage at the Real Money Coach.
Kathy. I love being a baller. What?
You a baller, girl.
You was a baller. See what she brought back some memories, right? Because her husband and I and a couple other fellas, we used to do some Gus Macker.
Yeah.
We were balling in the Gus Macker, right? Back in the day.
I hear you. Turn that down a little bit. All right.
Back in the day. Well, thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you have inspired me already just by you being here, understanding, you're going through some personal tragedy in you. But God is good. God is good. And so I'm inspired by you already. So welcome to the Real Money Coach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm
ready
excited.
For you to drop some dimes on us. So tell us, Michelle said that you were, you played in college, you played college basketball.
I did.
UNC
Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill.
I'm sorry, is there another one?
Yeah, they're all over the state, but
No, like the University of North Carolina.
I thought it was UNCG or something like that. No, okay, I'm sorry.
We Carolina Blue, the Carolina way.
Now I'm Carolina all the way. Congratulations to Coach K for finally retiring or whatever. Okay, whatever. Okay, so I'm not a Duke fan, y'all. I'm a Michigan fan. You can't be a Michigan fan and a Duke fan. And since I moved to North Carolina, my down south team is UNC. So I'm good. Right. I'm good with the Tar Heels. So you played basketball, went on to the WNBA. What was that like?
Actually, I didn't play in the WNBA. I played overseas. I played in Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was, it was interesting. I got to know another culture. I think the biggest thing for me was everything that you grow up with believing about yourself here. When you go to a different country and they don't feel the same way about you, you get a chance to grow in who you really understand yourself to be. And when you come back, you have a completely different perspective. I remember being over there and people would stare at me. And when I was here, being Black, I'd be like, well, why are they staring at me? And so I got over there and I had a little bit of an attitude. And one of my teammates were like, oh, no. That's not here. They're staring at you because you're like a movie star. They're like, oh my God. I was like, oh, okay. But it was a great experience. I think sports in and of itself teaches you a lot. And then to be able to couple that with traveling and living in a different country, I think that it just lends a whole nother perspective, again, to who you are and how you approach things when you come back to the United States.
So how long were you over there?
I was over there for 2 years. I played over there. Yeah.
2 years. I mean, that just seems to go to another culture and just kind of be inundated in that for a couple of years. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah,
it was very cool. Like I really enjoyed it. I still have some good friends, still to this day, that live over there. And she actually came to visit, brought her sons, and we didn't even have anything close to children when we met, and now we have children. So it's good.
So what else would you like us to know about Coach Kathy Wilson?
So I do a lot of goal planning, goal setting with my clients, but one of the big pieces in there is the understanding that goals take money, right? And so there's always this component of understanding about money and recognizing that it's important, and understanding your mindset around money, but also understand why you want money. Money in and of itself, if you put $100 bill on the table, it ain't gonna do nothing. It's not gonna call you names. It's not gonna go out and buy anything. It's just gonna sit there. So basically,
if I'm in the room, it's gonna call.
But that's the point, right?
Right.
Money derives its value by what we do with it and how we feel about it. Other than that, it just sits there. And so for people to understand that, they've got to understand why they truly want the money and what they can do with it. And, to me, that ultimate step is creating that impact, is having the ability to create impact. People think that they create impact in the threads on Facebook. Like, that ain't doing nothing, right? If you want to create some impact with how you feel and you're passionate about your community, make enough money so that you can contribute and really have the ability to say, so for instance, I'm gonna give you an example if I'm not going on too long.
No, you're good.
So I hate to say this, but like I was following Chrissy Teigen on Twitter, and she said something. She said, I'm going to donate $100,000 to one of the organizations that was providing bail money for the people who were arrested during the riots up in Minneapolis. She was like, I'm going to contribute bail money. And somebody else came on and said, it was criticizing her, like, go back to, you don't need to be on here, go back to doing nothing like you do, or cook something. And she said, oh, so what you're saying is it's not enough. So I'm going to donate 200,000. So, and then who's the guy from This Is Us who plays Toby? Chris Sullivan, white guy, big guy. Oh, he was on there and he cut a video and he said, I believe in Black Lives Matter. He said, so for everybody who comes on my thread with that all lives matter, I'm going to donate $1,000 to Black Lives Matter. So please, by all means, tell me how much all lives matter.
Wow.
So those are the choices that I want us to be able to make, that we're not in a position to make consistently enough to really have the impact that we're trying to have. And so when I'm talking to women about goals, you want to do something nice, you want to travel and all of that, but a piece of that you have to know is that if you want to see change in the community for yourself, for your children, for your children's children, we got to start creating those legacy streams of wealth. Yeah. Then you've got to think about the impact that you can create with the money that you bring in as well.
And it's so strange because I even talk to families and guys in particular, and they're like, well, no, I don't need no life insurance because I ain't gonna make somebody rich when I die, and all this craziness that we have in terms of our mentality when it comes to money and legacy. People say, well, I came up on my bootstraps, so other people got to do the same. And that's asinine to really be thinking about that. And then you want to complain about these different economic situations in our own neighborhoods, right? So if you want to do something, then you need to start at home, and you need to start in your community. We can't complain about what other people do for their community.
Yeah.
Right.
So
can we speak frankly?
yes, let's speak real frankly.
So, one of the things that I'm fascinated by is epigenetics, right? And what a part of epigenetics talks about is that we have sort of this genetic code in us that has been in our lineage for a long time. So it's not just our genes. So it's like alcoholism, right? So the epigenetics, not necessarily your genetics, creates that lineage of alcoholism in a family. But even deeper than that, epigenetics has a lot to do with why our community has the mentality around money that it does. It's that, what is it, not Carter Woodson, if you teach a man to go through the back door, teach him, make him go through the back door enough, and he'll go through the back door by himself. Right.
You want him not to go back.
Nope.
Right. But not only will he go through the back door, but his son will go through, his grandson will go through, his great-grandson will go through, because that is what we have been programmed to do.
Conditioning.
There's so much conditioning that happened during slavery that we have still not let go of.
Absolutely.
And we don't have that conversation enough of, how are we thinking as a community about being able to create wealth for our community? It's not that we can't, it's that we've been conditioned to believe that we can't. And any obstacle that comes in our way, we've been conditioned to believe that we need somebody else to create that wealth for us, that the same opportunities aren't available for us that are available for other people. We've been conditioned to that. But you know what? If you got the internet, you can do your thing.
Right. Absolutely. It levels the playing field in many ways.
Yes.
So Kathy, if you're working with a client, I don't know. I just got this feeling that you have a way of maybe shocking them into the truth.
That is Kathy.
I don't know where I'm getting that from, but that's what I'm feeling in my spirit, is that you got a way of bringing them to a reality. Could that be true?
What else is there but the truth?
Right.
And people speak the truth. I just listen to what people say and then say, okay, so what you're saying is this. And then they're like, oh, well, that's not exactly what I was saying. I was like, well, that's what it sounded like. Right. I said it, but it just sounds different coming from me than it did when it was coming from you.
So what techniques would you use with a client to say, well, you need to get your mind right when it comes to money? What give us a little taste or a little example.
Yeah. So, I think one of the first things that we have to understand about making money, right? Let's just talk basically about making money. Most people have these $1 million dreams, talk about all this money they want, but they got $100,000 mindset or a $10,000 mindset. So you don't have enough space for $1 million, first and foremost, because you don't have the capacity. And if you don't have the capacity to receive it, you will not receive it. So you have to expand your capacity, which means that you've got to change your mindset. One thing that I love that Tony Robbins talks about is that any kind of change that you want to make is 80% mental and emotional and 20% skill. If it was the other way around, everybody and their grandmother could make $1 million because it's out there. There's an unlimited abundance of money. There is no pie. There is enough money for everybody. The only reason we ain't out there getting it is because we don't have this. First and foremost, we got to expand your capacity. We got to figure out where those stories are, your money stories. I know Michelle's talked about that before. We have to figure out what are your money stories? What's your conditioning? What are these things that you think are real? These stories you're telling that you think are real. I can't make any money because I can't get a job because the job market's bad, or I can't get a raise because they're not going to pay me enough, right? What are those stories that you're telling that are preventing you from being able to expand your capacity? Because if you don't change that, then, you're going to get what you get.
Yeah.
You always say, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you already got.
Yeah. But it's out there.
Starts with the mind.
It does, but it's out there, right? It's sitting there going, hey, I want to give you I want to give you this, right? God, the universe, whoever your higher power is, it's like, I have gifts for you. There's so many scriptures in the Bible that talk about the fact that we are all supposed to be prosperous. And we go to church every Sunday and we talk about how we believe in God, and we come home and we do exactly the opposite.
Yep.
Like, you can't say you believe the scripture and not believe you're supposed to be prosperous.
Yep.
Right.
Like, what's the disconnect?
It's such a disconnect. That like that's something right there. And we touched on it, Tony, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, where with faith without works is dead.
It's dead, right?
Like you got the faith that God's going to provide. God, I'm just trusting you. But if you ain't getting up off of your behind, if you're not going to read a book, if you're not going to listen to a podcast to help you create that capacity in your brain, you can say I trust God all you want, but you're not doing nothing to get it.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've often said this, that God is waiting for our actions to catch up with the anointing. See, you know, we're anointed to have things, but our actions are the opposite. You know, we don't do the things that fall in line with the anointing that God has given us. And we're all anointed. He's given all of us anointing. He says that I'll bless you without measure, right? I mean, what does it sound like to you? That sounds like
unlimited.
It's unlimited, right?
Unlimited.
But if we don't go out and get it, then we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves.
You know, go ahead.
Go ahead, Michelle.
No, I was just thinking about something that ties along with the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, because these things happen at about the same time. The story of Madam C.J. Walker and how she became a millionaire, you know, in the 19 teens or 20s or whatever, at the same time as Black Wall Street. But when you read her story, like, she actually went out. Not only did she didn't have the confidence at first,
right?
But then she took little steps and little steps and little steps, and she didn't let anybody else get in the way of the vision, right? And she walked it out, and she became the first Black millionaire.
Yep.
Right.
At the same time,
female, right?
Female millionaire. Yes, absolutely. So it's the same thing.
But we have too many options. See,
we do.
When you think about Black Wall Street, there weren't other options. We had to create our own, or we have nothing. Madam CJ, well, I mean, anybody who wanted anything, either we create our own or we have nothing. So, you know, when you have that as your path, you got to make a decision, right? We talk about decision, which is cut off all other alternatives. You know, the Latin root of decision, cis, to cut. So they made a decision that this was how it was going to be. And it took years, right? And I was writing down some statistics. Was like 70 plus businesses, 4 hotels, newspapers, doctors' offices, barber shops, restaurants, real estates. They had a better school system in Greenwood than the school system that was outside of Greenwood. Their kids were better educated. But they made a decision that this is how it was going to be. We don't make decisions anymore. We make declarations because we have too many options and too many fallbacks. I can fall back into, you know, I'm comfortable doing this. I don't have to stretch, right? I know how to do this. Stick with the devil, you know. And, you know, there's too much
complacency.
Yes, but also wanting the shortcut. We like immediate gratification. Right? I'm just going to go on YouTube, or I'm going to be on the Real Housewives, or I'm going to do this, or, you know, I'm going to do that. That's this immediate gratification and feeds this hole in me. And that's how I want to make my money, versus saying, let me get my stuff together and let me, you know, get my mind right. And let me know that these scriptures are telling me that once I ask, it's already given to me. I don't have to ask no more. All I got to do is get up every day and do what I got to do, because it is already promised to me. So I'm just going to go out there and act like it's already there. I ain't even worried about it.
Right.
Yeah. But we don't do that.
We do have this mindset, or where we're just seeking the get rich quick, right? You know, I want it now. I don't want to work for it. I don't want to grind. You know, and it's almost entitlement sometimes. Like there's an entitlement in terms of, you know, because I haven't had, I deserve, you
Mhm.
know, and those type of things. And so it's an epidemic, actually, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
It is.
Look, I tell my dad, he's 92. And you know, he raised me well. But right now, when really all he does is watch the news, he forgets the things that he told me. So he was very upset this past week about the anti-Asian bill, anti-Asian hate bill, and all of that stuff. And I said, look, I don't need nobody to give me anything. I have everything in me that I need to create what I want. And that is the mentality I believe that we have to have as a community, is that we have everything. We create everything, all the music, all the liquor. Let me tell you something, all them liquor, people out there getting rich on that liquor, slaves brought those recipes over to the United States and created that liquor. And then plantation owners, like, we don't even know, Michelle, you said it, we have to know our history because we actually don't know how great we are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't know how great we are. We don't know all that we have done. But if we were to get a taste of that, right? We have, history's been completely whitewashed, right? But if our kids could get a taste to understand who we are and the impact that we've had on what we see today, like, we built all the universities. We built all the universities. Like, we built them. Somebody else put their name on them, but we built them. Right? We are the root of all the music that people listen to.
Yeah.
You know, Netflix has that High on the Hog, right? Talking about how we contributed to the history of food and recipes. Like, all that is ours.
Yep.
You're like, yeah, I created that. Oh, I did that. I did that.
How great we are.
Yes, we are great.
I want to unpack this that you said earlier. You put these three words together. You said money, power, and impact. Money, power, and impact. So talk to us about those three things: money, power, and impact, and why you package that together.
You know, I mean, I hate to sound cliche, and what I will say is my niece says, sometimes we have to know how to code switch. Right? So we know who we are. We know how we want to show up. But, you know, we're living in a certain world where money talks.
Right.
And so if you want to have the opportunity, and I'm going to talk about money in two ways. If you want to have the opportunity to have a real impact in your community, right, and to be a person that can say, and the power I'm talking about is, I know that I can do it.
Yeah.
Like, I ain't worried about if I do this, I can't pay for that, or if I go here, I can't do that. The power and the freedom of choice, because financially I'm in a place to be able to do that. But I think about money in the idea of being able to make impact. But I also think about money, and Michelle and I talk about this, because the environment does not stay the same. So what ends up happening, and, you know, I've seen this in my household. My husband, he loves spreadsheets. He came to me and he was like, why is our grocery bill so high? Why are you buying so many more groceries? I said, I'm not buying more groceries. The boxes are smaller and they cost more. So I'm buying more of what we need. I said, but I'm buying the exact same things. So my mind started spinning. Right about that time, Delta Airlines started charging for their Comfort Plus seats, where I used to get them for free. I'm like, Then United created this whole fare class where you don't get your seat, you know, you can't take your bed. It's like a cheaper fare class. So basically families had to pay all this extra even sit together.
On the
Same seats. Yeah.
What I recognized is what was happening is our society ends up catering to people who have money. And that middle class where you were, how it gets squeezed out is exactly what I was talking about. Things start to cost more. So your dollar does not go as far. So what you could buy with $1 in 2010, you know, you need $1.40 to buy it in 2020. So that means you got two choices. You've either got to figure out how to lessen your lifestyle continuously, or you got to make more money. So money in and of itself, at the very least, is to make sure that you can continue to take care of your family and to understand the importance of it and to understand what's going on economically. You've got to understand that if I want to continue, people say, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'll just keep living like this. Well, no, you won't, because you won't be able to afford to live like that in 5 years. And you're going to be in debt and you won't know why. So money, and then power, that power that you have when you know that you can say, oh yeah, I want that. Or, yeah, I can do that. or sure, we can go here, or yes, I can pay for your college, or yep, we've got savings, yep, we've got investments. All of that leading towards your financial freedom. And then the impact piece is what I talked about before, which was really being able to, if there is something that you are passionate about, like the Voting Rights Act, right? Or creating a lobby or whatever it is, that I can say, I'm going to throw $100,000 behind that because I believe in it. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to throw another 50,000. This is not at the expense of my family. This is because I've got the means to create that kind of impact.
Right. And we were talking about it politically too, is like, when you look at who wins Senate races and who runs for president, guess what? You got to have, even if you came from some meager beginnings,
right? When
you get in it, you got to have some bread, right? You got to have some money, and you got to know some other people with money. You're talking about code switching, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there it is, ultimately, and so, just like you were mentioning earlier about the Asian hate bill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what we're trying to get, the George Floyd bill, and we had all the protests, the Black Matters, the picketing and all that stuff. And we still got what?
Because we don't have no money.
We got no bill because we got no money.
Because we got no money. The Asian lobby has $1 billion. $1 billion. Money talks. They got that bill through because they said, look, we're going to put our lobby behind this if you don't pass that bill. And they were like, oh, we'll pass that bill. Right. But we don't focus enough on the finances, on the money. And we don't have a lobby.
Right.
We don't have a lobby.
There is no African American Black lobby. It does not exist.
Yeah.
Al Sharpton's group or whatever. There's no money.
There's no money.
There's no money.
And I hate to say this, but they don't care if you march.
Right.
They don't care. They're like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
They don't care if you protest. If they don't care if you're on Facebook and the threads, actively telling people off, or they don't care. They care about money.
It's
you throw something behind a campaign or a bill or something like that, then trust me, they're going to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. We're in a capitalistic society. Yeah. I mean, that's where we live. And I think sometimes we put our head in the sand, right? And pretend like money's not important, but you try to live without it, right?
Yeah.
And you'll see how quickly it is an important part of what we do. I mean, that's why we're the real money coach, right? I mean, it's important. And what's interesting? This is so funny, Kathy. When we started having this whole thing about a year ago in terms of every Thursday, and I got an email from someone, and they said their complaint was, I watch your show, but all you ever talk about is money. I think you do realize the show is called The Real Money Coach, right?
Right. That's awesome, because we don't talk about it enough.
Right.
So we need this.
Right.
You ought to be on 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
I'm not volunteering you for anything. I'm just saying.
But it is so important that we understand that it is important. I mean, if it's not important, then we wouldn't even be talking about it. It wouldn't matter, but it does matter. So Kathy, tell us a little bit about what you do in terms of coaching and that type of thing. Tell us a little bit about your coaching practice and how someone.
Yeah. So what I do, and I work a lot through delivering courses. I feel like the easiest way for me to reach a lot of people is to create a course so that they can go through it, and then I can support them coaching wise through that. I do the videos in our membership group, but I have a course, it's Money Mindset Mastery, and it really does, and it's geared towards women, but what it really does is it talks about how the first thing I think about is, we first and foremost have to have the courage to be rich. It takes courage. And, I do this exercise with some of the women, and I talk to them. I'm like, I'm just going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me what comes up. And I just say, money is, and I have them right. And you would feel like money is evil, or money is hard, money is freedom. But when you have all these conflicting beliefs about money, right, it makes it very difficult for you to make money because our conditioning, if you're raised that to be humble and, you don't need that much and just make just enough for you, but you don't need extra and all that kind of stuff. When you become an adult and you start to say, hey, I want this type of life. If that conflicts with your conditioning, it's going to be very difficult. And you've got to be courageous in order to step into it. So I really do a lot of my coaching around it's all the mindset piece. The skill's easy. The skill is easy. The mindset.
That's that mindset. Yeah.
Woo,
you got to have audacity. You got the audacity to think you could be rich.
Yep. Yep. And then I have a podcast. It's called For Kick-Ass Women Only. And I get on there each week and, we tackle, and it's a lot of mindset because that is, it's almost like you can't have a conversation without addressing it. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, your health, your finances, what have you. This that you bring into it is going to dictate what you get out of anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Money, power, and impact. I love that.
Yeah.
That's the real MVP. Right. Good. Got it. Love it.
Tony, can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
So, this is just a general question. Michelle, you too. I've thought about this a lot, and I feel like I have mixed feelings about this. There was a time when people were vocal about Black people and white people segregation or what was desegregation. I don't know how I feel about segregation. I feel like on one hand, I'm like, I can see their point that we should have our own, right? On the other hand, I'm like, is that realistic in this day and time? But in a lot of ways, desegregation hurt us.
Yes.
Oh, it hurt us big time.
Yeah.
It hurt us big time. And because of that, many of our businesses didn't survive because the white man's ice is colder, and it developed this mentality. And that's a very interesting question. How do you feel about segregation versus desegregation? And I think it's, oh boy, this is opening a can of worms. It's almost like the abortion issue. It's almost like the abortion issue. I believe that it's good, but I don't want to be forced for you to make me believe that way.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So I believe spending dollars in my own community, supporting my own businesses ought to be a choice that I make, but I don't think that you should force me to make that choice.
Right.
I need to make that choice on my own. Unfortunately, it's like law, right? It's like the law. It's like the Old Testament forced them to do certain things, where under the New Testament, we got grace. Right. So if we don't have some laws in place, there's so many of us, and it's been proven, right? Because just because they desegregated communities and they desegregated these things didn't mean that we had to stop spending money at our own businesses. But if we don't have something to force the majority of people to support, then they don't. And that's why we end up where we're at today, I think, is because we had choices. You said we had too many choices.
Too many choices.
Well, segregation limited those choices. But I think spending money in our own community and stuff, it just makes good sense. I mean, it just makes good common sense.
Yep. Yeah. I think about that a lot, and I don't know exactly where I stand because you're taking a point in history and then trying to project what would have happened, and maybe it would have been the same thing. Maybe it would have been another Greenwood where our communities became so successful that it's like you said, history would repeat itself and somebody would come in and burn it down because they're jealous that we've got a lot of dollars flowing through the community. I don't know. Who's to say that wouldn't happen? I don't know. I don't have an answer, but I think about that a lot.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle? What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that's a good subject to ponder. because we want economic growth in the Black community. And if we aren't supporting our own, in segregation, we had to, because that's the only way we could survive.
Yeah.
But with desegregation, now you have the choice, and we see the result of it. I don't know. You're right. I don't know how I really feel about it, because now that we have choice, we choose not to support other Black businesses. I see it because I'm a business owner. I see it all the time.
Listen, when you're in the money business,
Yeah.
you see it all the time. I mean, I saw it more. I think I saw it more in the North than I do in the South.
Right.
In terms of, even our people will come and they'll get all the information from you, and then they'll go buy it from someone else.
Yeah.
And so you see that all the time. And I guess I've come to this conclusion in terms of my own dollars is I'm Black first, but not Black only.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how, if I can find a business or a product or something that I can support another Black business, that's first for me. But it's not only. So it's Black first, but not only. and I love when I find out of great companies like Cattle Lee. It's a Black owned company. I love to find that. And one of the things what do you feel about this, since we're on that topic? What do you feel about, because we talked about code switching, right? So what do you feel about the Black owned business that tries to do everything they can to hide that they're Black?
Ooh.
So I'll be honest, I want to know what their end game is. Right? So the middle game, I want to know what your end game is. If your end game is that I want to make all the money I can so that I can put it back into the Black community, then do what you got to do. I ain't judging you, right?
Right.
But if your end game is only about me, this is just for me, then, well, do what you do. I don't agree, but do what you do.
Right.
You never know where somebody's come from, where their mind is, why they do the things that they do. But I'm about the end game. Like that's I'll code switch to get to the end game, but my money is going back into our community. Let's just be clear, right? We're into education, financial education. Yeah.
We've seen. I think we've seen businesses and stuff that intentionally don't hire Black people or those type of things, and so those are some of the things that I just are concerned about. And I understand what you're saying is that you do have to cater to everyone, right? You cater to, but I don't think that we have to abandon our own people in order to do that. And so, but I love how you put it, Coach Kathy. What's your end game? What's your end game?
What's your end game? Like, what you doing over there?
Yeah.
Right? Because if you just trying to get money to put back in our community, I'm gonna help you. Let's figure out,
Yeah, let's see how you're pouring it back in. Exactly. So listen, speaking of end game, man, the hour has gone by pretty fast. We're almost at 9 o'clock. I want to give Kathy, I want to give you your last words. I mean, just share some stuff with us. Speak to us from your heart.
Yeah.
Take a few minutes. Just what do you got for us?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this. I always enjoy this conversation, and I don't think that we have enough of them. But that's my share is, we've got to have more conversations about money. We have to place a higher value on money, which sometimes goes against our conditioning, whether it be our religious conditioning or our family conditioning. But we have to recognize that it is important because the tide is not going to change. There's never going to be a time in a future history where money doesn't matter. And this is just an aside from that. When we were talking about businesses, we've got to get more young Black people thinking about being entrepreneurs. and really learning how to, that they can, first and foremost. And that's very difficult when you grow up in a family where the conditioning may have been your success is getting a good job and working for somebody else and getting a paycheck. We've got to do what white people are doing. We got to get our people into entrepreneurship. We've got to get them into tech. We've got to get them into STEM, all of these areas where they're these burgeoning careers. It's so important. And we have to stop thinking that it's not. I mean, it's just, that's what's in my heart. This is important in this moment. This is a big time right now. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Again, praying for you and your family.
Thank you.
It is a pivotal time in history, right? We have a choice to make every day we wake up. We have a choice of whether we're going to do the same old thing that we've been doing, if we're going to think the same thoughts that we used to think, or are we going to do something different? Are we going to change the narrative? Because we can change the narrative.
Yes.
It starts with us.
I love that.
Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world, right? And it's like, so we have to be that change. And if we're tired of being broke, then change it. Change it, right? You can change it. And I love what you said about being an entrepreneur. I think I'm a serial entrepreneur. I don't think I could go back to working for someone else.
I'm a terrible employee. Don't nobody want me working for them.
And it's not that it's anything wrong with it, but the thing about it, that's not my end game, right? That's not my end game. I want to, I think everybody should have a business. I think, whether it's your full-time thing or your side hustle or whatever you want it to be. But if you have a dream that you want it to be more than that, then it starts with the mindset. And that's why every class series we always start with financial psychology. We got to deal with this. We got to deal with what you learned about money as a child. What was that experience like? Did you hear that money doesn't grow on trees?
Yes.
Well, guess what? It does. It's wood, it's paper. It does actually, right? But it's like you said, it's what actions you put behind it that makes a difference. So thank you again for being with us. For sure, this has been powerful. I gotta go back and just listen to it again myself. If I cut out all my parts and just listen to you back there, I'll be good. If I can figure out how to edit this, where I could just hear Coach Kathy, right? Good. I know Coach Kathy be on it, right? So,
thank you.
Awesome. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing in this vineyard, right? Because it takes all of us. There's so many people that are doing great work, but there's so much work to be done. If all of us work until the Lord calls us home, there'll still be more work to do. But as much work as there is to do, there's an equal or greater harvest for those who want to take it. And I'm ready to take it.
Yes.
Oh, you got me ready. I'm ready to go. Come on, let's strap up, right? Let's strap up. I'm gonna go out in the yard and shoot some 3-pointers. I don't know what's going on. I gotta do something. Actually, I gotta do another Zoom with my folks in California, but thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Michelle bringing the guests. What? Michelle, any last words for the Real Money Coach family tonight?
Oh, for the Real Money Coach family. This whole thing about Kathy and impact, impact, money, power, and impact. Like, I do what I do to impact lives, period. The money is going to follow that, but my goal is to impact lives. And when you have your money right, you can impact lives. When you are confident in yourself, when your mind is right, you have power to do the things that you want to do, because if you want to do them, that means God has already put them in your heart
Yes.
as your passion. So therefore, you need to take your money to create the impact because you already have the power, right? So I just want to impart that to those who are listening and the faithful Real Money Coach listeners on Thursday nights. You know, this information is so rich. You have to pass it on to the younger people. Like,
Yes.
it's a generational impact. If you can change somebody's mindset at the age of 18, what difference would that make in their life?
Yeah.
And then them impacting their own legacies, right? So we have to spread the word. It is our duty to do that. So those are, you know, my parting words. Money, power, impact. Like, it, you already have the power, so go get the money so you can make the impact.
Beautiful.
There you go. There you go. Hey, listen, I'm gonna play off of this a little bit. I preached this sermon one time, and it basically was talking about how you have the power plant and you have your house, right? So the power is at the power plant, and what you're saying is in order for that power to light up your house, somebody's got to get the power from the source to the end user, right? And so what money does, money allows the power to get from the power source to the people who need it. And so if you don't believe money is important, then, and if you don't believe that ministry, try running a ministry with no money.
Right.
And I know we all the time want to just talk about, you know, all those scriptures would have rob God, and you know, you can't serve two masters, and you know, money is the root of the love of money is the root of all evil and all of that. But for all of those scriptures, if you take them in context and you look at all the things that the Bible tells us about prosperity and about, you know, my father has a cattle on 1,000 hills, and we put all that together, God desires for us to be prosperous, right? How God desires it, but he made us a free will individual. You have a choice. You have a choice. You can take it or you can leave it. And for me, I want mine. Thank you, Coach Kathy. You got me ready to go. Listen, Coach, I gotta fly, but we love you guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Spread the word. Listen, go watch this on your Facebook page. Share it with somebody. Let them know about the Real Money Coach on Thursday night. God bless you. Have a great one.